everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is the first day I'm actually filming a sit-down video in my new apartment, and I'm on my couch, which is my new child. And I know the mismatching pillows are going to bother some of you. I'm sorry, I do have a matching pillow coming in the mail, but it's not here yet, so they're mismatching. I apologize. But if you guys are new to my channel, then you might not know I recently graduated college. I went to USC and I just graduated in May, so I am a very recent graduate. I have done quite a few college advice videos on my channel, but I feel like now that I've graduated, I can actually do them and give you my full wisdom, I guess, just because now I have fully gone through college and I can really reflect on my whole experience and what worked for me and what didn't. So I asked you guys on Instagram to send me your questions or topics that you want me to cover about college. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you definitely should. It's just Tasha. I post a ton on my stories. I post a lot of outfit photos and just a lot on there, so definitely follow me if you want to keep up with my life. Anyways, so I asked you guys for your college questions, and so many of you guys were asking me about the social aspects of college and kind of how to meet people and how to make friends. So I thought I would do a whole video on this and kind of cover the misconceptions, or I guess just assumptions that people make about making friends in college, and kind of give you guys my experience and overall hopefully just help you guys out with the topic. So for the people that do know my whole college story, you can skip this. But basically I attended Loyola Marymount University for my freshman year and then transferred to USC for my sophomore spring because I got spring admission. So I was at USC from sophomore spring until I graduated. So I did have the initial freshman year of college meeting friends at LMU, and then I did have the transfer meeting friends experience at USC. The first thing I have is that most likely friends will not just come to you. You know, you can't just sit there and not introduce yourself to people and not go do things and think that you're just gonna make friends easily because it's freshman year and no one has friends yet. That's not necessarily the case. Granted, people might introduce themselves to you in classes or on your floor or whatnot, and I guess that's technically people coming to you, but you're gonna have to put forth some sort of effort in order to make friends, and I know that's hard if you're a shy person or an introvert, because I am introverted, and in high school I was pretty shy, but I moved across the country for college. I didn't know anyone, and I knew that if I wanted to be comfortable and make friends, I really did have to put myself out there. Definitely don't be afraid to introduce yourself, especially when college first starts, because at that point it's normal. You know, it's not like it's the middle of the year and you're like, oh hey. In the beginning of school, it's definitely normal and everyone's doing that, so don't be afraid to introduce yourselves to people. If you get turned down, it's fine. Basically, the biggest takeaway is don't just assume that friends are going to come to you. You definitely are going to have to work and put yourself out there, you know, leave your door open, go introduce yourself to people on your floor, all of that. Definitely join clubs. I'm going to get to that later on, but I think that's the biggest thing to go in, is just don't assume that friends are going to flock to you. Okay, my next little tip is that your first friends you make in college might not be your best friends forever. I know my freshman year, people have like their little cliques and their groups so quickly, and I think that's just because everyone wants to make it seem like they made friends so easily, but I can tell you 100%, like those groups are not always going to stay. It's just something that people do in the beginning to get comfortable, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes those groups do stick, and you do end up being friends with those people for your whole college time, but more often than not, those people are not gonna be your best friends the whole time. So if you're in that group and you're not really feeling it, you don't really feel yourself, these people aren't necessarily who you would want as your best friends, that's fine, don't worry about it. Don't be afraid to branch off and introduce yourselves to new people, because I guarantee there's other people in like friend groups that they also don't really feel comfortable in the beginning, and that's totally normal. It's fine to kind of have to figure yourself out, feel out the friend groups. And kind of going off of that, don't force yourself to be in a friend group that you feel uncomfortable in. I know it can be so hard if you feel like you don't have a group of friends or a solid group in college, but I honestly think it's better to, you know, be on your own and try to find people that you actually feel comfortable with, rather than putting yourself in situations with people that you don't like and, you know, you don't feel comfortable or yourself around, because that can just make things a lot more difficult. I know in my time in college, especially when I transferred to USC, you know, there was people that, you know, I would be hanging out with at first, but I didn't really get the best vibes from, and I did turn down experiences and events with them just because I didn't really feel like that was the best group to hang out with and I wouldn't really be my true self around them. Definitely don't force yourself into friendships. I know it can be hard to not if you feel like you don't have that group and that's what you want, but at the end of the day you want to be comfortable and, you know, friends will come. Kind of going off of a lot of these other things, you might not make your best friends your freshman year or even your sophomore year. You know, you might not make your closest friends that you're going to speak to forever until your junior or even your senior year. I know this was the case for me. That was mainly because I transferred, but I think the friends that I've become closest with were through my junior year, I would say. I know that can be frustrating to think that you're going to go through so much of your college experience and not have your person yet. But it just takes time. So if you're in your sophomore year and you still feel like you don't have that best friend or that good group of friends, that's totally fine. And you know what? It might not happen until your junior year. It might not happen until your senior year, but don't give up hope. Those people are there, and even if you go to a small school, I'm sure there's people that you haven't talked to yet that you would be great friends with. So don't give up. Oh my god, it's so hot in my room right now. I had to turn my fan off because I didn't want the background noise and I am dying. Okay, I think the most common question that I got was about joining a sorority and if I think that joining a sorority helped me make friends. And my answer is 1000% yes. So basically when I transferred to USC, I really didn't know anyone and it was hard because I was coming in mid-year, so it was like after the first semester already. And for USC, Greek life is a pretty big thing. It's pretty prevalent. So I knew that I wanted to join a sorority just because that would be the easiest way for me to make friends, and I did join a sorority. It was a whole fiasco. The experience was a hot mess. I have a whole video talking about it. I will link that down below, but basically I joined the sorority and I'm not gonna lie, at first it was very overwhelming and hard because I was a junior and most of the girls in my pledge class were freshmen. So right off the bat, I really didn't feel like, I don't know, obviously they were sweet girls, but it's just like when you're a junior and a freshman, your mind is in two totally different places. So I was kind of overwhelmed at first and I just didn't really feel like I was in the same place as the other girls in my pledge class, but I quickly became friends with girls that were my age from older pledge classes. So if you do join a sorority, don't feel like you only have to be friends with the girls in your pledge class. People ask me all the time if it was worth it because joining a sorority at a big school, and probably most schools, is pretty expensive. I can do a whole video on sorority stuff if you guys want. Leave me your questions down in the comments, but yeah, it was expensive and it was 1000% worth it. If I were to list all of my closest friends that I made at USC, I think 90% of them were from my sorority. And even if you don't think that Greek life is for you, join any club. You know, you have to find something that you're interested in, and then when you're in that club, that just gives you kind of like a launching pad to make friends because the people in the club probably have the same or similar interests to you, and it's just a lot easier to kind of start conversation. If a sorority isn't your thing or if your school doesn't have sororities, definitely look into other clubs. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible to make friends in classes or meet friends in your hall if you're living in dorms, but I do think the easiest way is to join a bigger club like Greek life or sports or something else. Oh, something else I want to touch on is your roommate doesn't have to be your best friend. I remember when I was going into LMU and I was looking for a roommate, I was like, okay, this person has to be my best friend, like we have to have so much in common, and my roommate didn't end up being one of my really good friends, but we both transferred, so we don't go to the same school anymore. But we were good friends, but that's not the case for a lot of people, and it's okay. You know, you don't have to be best friends with your roommate, and I don't think you have to force it. And I think you guys should take time apart. You know, if you're living together, sometimes being with your roommate 24/7 and living with them can be a lot. So I would definitely say, like, don't worry if you don't think your roommate's gonna be your best friend. It's fine, and honestly, it might be for the best in the long run. My last little tip is to say yes to opportunities. You know, if you're sitting in your dorm or whatever and people that maybe you don't really know that well ask you to go do something with them, say yes, unless, you know, there's a reason why you would not feel comfortable with them. Like I said, I've turned down things because I just don't really feel like the people involved would be good for me. But, you know, if you're open to the people there, definitely say yes, because you never know. They might bring other friends that you might meet and then become really good friends with. And I think when you're in college, it's important to say yes to this kind of stuff. And if you can't do something, if you're too busy, remember that those people asked you, and then maybe ask them to do something later on when you are free. And you never know. I think putting the effort forth goes a long way, and people will appreciate it if they can tell that you are reaching out and making an effort, for sure. My last thing that I want to say is, if you do drift away from friends that you've made throughout college, it's totally normal. I've had friends throughout college that I have drifted from, and it's not because there was a big fight or anything like that. But you know, people do change, their interests change, and friendships do drift apart sometimes, and that's fine. Maybe it's just not meant to be. It doesn't mean that you guys aren't both good people. You don't have to get in some huge fight for this to happen. And don't be too offended if something does happen and you are drifting, because college is definitely a point in your life when you are going to be learning way more about yourself and changing as a person, and when that happens, sometimes people just aren't compatible as friends anymore, and that's okay. So definitely keep that in mind and know that it's okay if you're not friends with the same people. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. College is just a time. People are figuring out what they want and who they are, and it's totally normal. Okay, so I think that is everything that I want to cover in this video. I think I covered a lot of your questions and kind of just told you my experience on making friends in college. If I had to give you guys one takeaway from this video, definitely join a club or Greek life if given the opportunity and you are able to, because that was the one way that I definitely made friends in college and felt really, really comfortable, especially once I transferred. Leave your comments down below of other topics you want me to cover, or if you have any other specific questions, and definitely leave me your sorority questions down below, because I know I want to do a whole Greek life sorority video, so definitely leave those down below. As always, if you guys are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and follow my social media handles. I will have them in the description. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and stay tuned for my next video.